Mayor, if I may, I'd like to ask the indulgence of the council to consider the addition of one item to your agenda. I'd like to recommend that we add a award of a bid that would be added under item 9B, would be number 3. And this would be a bid for consideration of award of excavation for the expansion at Molly. I apologize for, I pulled this from the agenda because we had to do some bid analysis for staff. Molly and the consultant engineer did a great deal of work this afternoon to get it ready to be considered. And it's been requested by Molly that we expedite this as we possibly can so they can have 2 weeks to work and just get the weather. So with your indulgence, I would ask you to open the agenda and add item 9B3 to the agenda.
At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to amend the agenda. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Jinks, second by Councilmember Vivens.
Oh, wait, I thought Mr. Brooks finished.
He went first.
Oh,
I
okay.
couldn't hear him. He is punching, I was, yeah.
All right, well, we'll click that again for the computer.
Is, all right, is it, we don't have to discuss this?
Then we add again.
Yes, please. Okay.
All right, if you would please enter your vote.
Wait a second. And Ms. Center, can we see if you can mark this?
Well, is it ready?
Okay, we're ready now.
You ready?
Mhm.
That's good. Unanimous. So the agenda will be changed. Now, at this time, we are going to open the floor up for citizen comments about agenda items only. Please remember the comments I made earlier. If you weren't here, you will not be making comments on the public hearing items. That would be 3419.9, 3419.10, and 3419.11 because they are public hearing items, and we'll speak to those separately. But if there is any other item that is on the agenda, then you may come to the podium and address that item at this time. When you come to the podium, it's important that you give us your name, your address. You'll be limited to 3 minutes in time. There will be a timer on the screen. So at this time, the podium is open for any comments on agenda items only. All right, we're going to close the podium. There are no comments. So the citizens' comments about the items only is closed. The next item will be old business. First item coming before us will be the public hearing on item 8A, public hearing on ordinance number 3419.9. It's an ordinance to the City of Morristown annual budget for the fiscal year 2011-2012, and to appropriate a state grant and move funds to appropriate account number. Does the city administrator wish to address this?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is an amendment to our budget. It recognizes we're getting some additional money from the state for our downtown Main Street program. In addition to that, we're moving some money around from supplies, materials, and other line items for accounting purposes. But this does increase the budget by $1,000 due to a state grant. We recommend approval following the public hearing.
All right, at this point, we will open the podium for a public hearing. If you wish to address this item, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and make any comments you wish to make. The podium is now open for public hearing on item number 3419.9. I see no comments, therefore we will close the public hearing portion on ordinance number 3419.09. This time, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt on its final reading ordinance 3419.09. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Oh, I know you were here, Kate. Great. Good to see you. We have a motion by Councilmember Center. We have a second by Councilmember Vivens. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please enter your vote. 7 yeas, no nays. Ordinance passes. Next item will be a public hearing on ordinance number 3419.10. This is entitled an ordinance to amend ordinance number 3419, City of Morristown annual budget for fiscal year 2011, 2012, and appropriate the sum of $4,150,000 for the creation of city insurance fund to record costs associated with insurance in the clinic. Would the city administrator like to address?
Yes, sir. This is an adjustment to our budget, but it does not change the bottom line whatsoever. What this does is pools all our insurance expenses so we can track the impact of our insurance claims being self-insured. That's very important. Also, we want to see the impact of our recently implemented city clinic. So this will be something that will allow us to monitor the impact of those two things. It does not increase the bottom line of the budget. We would recommend approval following the public hearing.
Are there any questions of the city administrator?
Does that mean that we'll have a separate line item for it and tracking it that way as well?
We will have a separate fund for it, and we'll be able to see the net at the end of the year there. Then to show the expense and the various functions that will be closed back to the general fund, the sewer fund, so on, and then audit report.
Any other questions for the city administrator? Hearing none, we'll now open this ordinance number 3419.10 for a public hearing. Anyone wishing to address this ordinance may come to the podium, state your name and address, and make your comments. You'll be limited to 3 minutes. The podium is open.
My name is Linda Noe, 2343 Joe Stevens Road. What I wanted to ask, and Mayor, if you could possibly find the answer, is how are you tracking the success of the self-insurance program up to now? I've always wondered, was it working well? Were you saving money? How much? And what was being done with any savings, if any? Thank you.
We can answer those questions in a memo or letter to Ms. Noy, if we would. And I'll leave that up to Tony, however you want to
Yes, sir.
address that. Okay. Are there any other comments? Hearing none at this time, we'll close the public hearing on ordinance number 3419.10. And we will entertain a motion from council for adoption on final reading of the ordinance. Is there a motion? We have a motion by Councilmember James. Do we have a second? We have a second by Councilmember Bivens. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please enter your vote. Seven yeas, no nays. Next item for public hearing will be ordinance number 3419.11, entitled an ordinance to amend ordinance number 3419, the City of Morristown, Tennessee, annual budget for fiscal year 2011-2012, and appropriating the sum of $164,585 for one-time bonuses. Will the city administrator give it?
Yes, Mayor, you will recall that in December, council acted to give employees a bonus to recognize their service and to show our appreciation. At that point in time, we said we would come back at a later date to pay for the bonus, if you will, in terms of having better projections for revenues. That's the purpose of this adjustment. The lion's share of the expenses in general fund comes from increased collections of sales tax. This is did pass on first reading. We recommend approval on second and final reading after public hearing.
At this time, we'll open the podium for public hearing on ordinance number 3419.11. If you wish to address this ordinance, please step forward to the microphone, state your name and address, and make your comments. Hearing none, we will close public hearing on ordinance number 3419.11. At this time, Chair will entertain a motion to adopt on final reading ordinance 3419.11.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion by Councilmember James. Do we have a second? We have a second by Councilmember Center. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please enter your vote. Seven yeas, no nays, ordinance passes. Under new business, we have resolution number
06-12.
Resolution number 06-12. It's the initial resolution authorizing the issuance of not to exceed $31 million general obligation bond of the city of Morristown, Tennessee. Let's see, Administrator, what is that?
I'll start off and then we'll call in some reinforcements. But the next two resolutions involve borrowing for the sewer and stormwater projects that have been identified in previous meetings. This will be $26 million for sewer improvements and $5 million for stormwater improvements. The resolutions you have before you are prepared by bond counsel, Mr. Bancroft. This refers to general obligation bonds because they will be secured by pledging the tax base of the city in addition to the revenues of those two utility bonds. Mr. Ayers is here to maybe be able to give you a little more detail in terms of the structure of the bonds we're talking about, and maybe able to better respond to your questions about how we're moving forward with borrowing this money. So, Mr. Ayers.
Thank you, Mr. Cox. Joe Ayers, I'm over Keegan in Knoxville. I'm going to ask Mr. Vessler to pass out for you a preliminary funding analysis. The first thing I wanted to do, as Mr. Cox just mentioned, there's two resolutions that are on your agenda this evening. The initial resolution is a statutory resolution that's required under Tennessee Code Annotated that you adopt prior to the issuance of any general obligation bonds. That resolution is going to be published in the newspaper of general circulation within the city, and a 20-day period go by. The second resolution is the detailed bond resolution, and that's the actual contract with bondholders, and it outlines the terms and conditions of the bonds. And as Mr. Cox mentioned, it shows that the bonds are additionally payable for the revenues of respective enterprise systems. The funding analysis that we passed out for you is we're sharing with you in accordance with the debt management policy that you all adopted last year. As a part of that policy, it requires that staff or your advisors review with council prior to adopting any new debt, certain information about the debt, such as the structure of the debt, whether it's fixed or variable, estimated interest rates, the repayment structure, as well as the estimated sources and uses of funds as relates to transactional expenses. If I ask you to turn to page 1 of that handout, the number in the bottom right-hand column, this is the existing debt in the sewer fund. Today it totals about $32.4 million, and it consists of a number of different bond issues listed down in the summary section, and you can see it pays out over the next 23 years. The principal is in the column on the left, the interest is in the second column to the right, and the total principal and interest by fiscal year is in the right-hand column. A thing to note there is that any variable rate debt that's in this enterprise fund has been budgeted at 5%. Currently, variable rates are extremely low. But in discussions with city staff, that's consistent with what y'all done in the past. Budget your variable rate at 5%. That accounts for any interest rate risk that may happen in construction in the bond market, and also usually drops some money to the bottom line at the end of the year to help build reserves. Page 2 will show you the kind of the picture of what was on page 1, and you can see it's relatively, you've got a spike in the next fiscal year due to one of your notes, and it's relatively level and it drops off in 2028. Page 3 is the recommended structure coming from discussions with staff. We reviewed with Mr. Cox and Mr. Clark a number of different options looking at level debt, level principal, 20, 25, 30, 35-year debt, and the recommendation coming back to you all this evening is for a 25-year level principal payment. So if you look on the left column on the left, you'll see the principal payments each and every year are about $1,085,000, give or take within a $5,000 rounding all the way down. You will note under the coupon, these are the estimated rates in today's market. They are subject to change at the time you go to the market, could be higher, could be lower. But as you can see, the bond market is extremely favorable for the issuance of municipal bonds, high-quality general obligation bonds. Most of you are aware the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates low for an extended period of time. And you'll see that in today's market, we can lock in these fixed rates for the next 25 years at an average rate right at about 3%. So that's an extremely low cost of funds in the fixed rate market. The total principal and interest on the new issue would be on the third column from the right. You lay it on with the existing debt from the previous page 1, and then you'll see your total net debt service over the life of the sewer enterprise fund. Page 4 will show you the picture of how that declines slightly each and every year because you plan it level of principal, and then the interest goes down over time as the principal pays back. Any particular questions about the sewer fund before I move to the stormwater fund?
Is the average percent 3% that you're saying?
Yes, sir.
This is the variable rate,
No, this is fixed rate.
fixed rate,
Fixed rate for the entire 25-year life of the loan.
an average 3%.
Yes, sir. If you're back on page 3, under the coupon section, just to kind of give you
Right.
a sense of what we call the yield curve in the municipal bond market. Today's market, a 2-year tax-free bond for Morristown, Tennessee would sell it at 0.85%. That'd be fixed rate for 2 years. If you go out and look 2022, 10 years out, about 2.4%. If you go out to 2032, that's 20 years out, 3.4, and then 25 years out, it'd be about 3.8. So based on those different interest rates for different maturities and based on the level of principal payment, that equates out to about a 3% average rate. You'll see down in the statistical section at the bottom right-hand column of the page, the second number from the bottom, that says bond yield for arbitrage purposes or average coupon under the yield statistics section. Thanks for your question.
If you have to borrow money, it looks like you have to do it.
Yes, sir. If you have to borrow it. Our understanding from talking to staff is you all are under some court orders to make these mandatory improvements to these two enterprise systems. So it's certainly a good time to go to the market if you have to borrow the money. The other comment is you all are pretty heavily already in the variable rate market. It has served you well, but this will help balance your portfolio, take it a little bit more back conservative, and lock in these low interest rates for extended period of time.
3% sounds awful good.
May I ask, excuse me, are we moving toward approving the institution with whom we are going to do our bonds today?
Joe, could you talk about what the resolutions say?
Yes, a couple things, Ms. Center. The bond resolutions, well, first of all, let me back up. The debt management policy that you all adopted last year authorizes the city administrator and Mr. Clark in his position to hire a financial advisor and other professionals involved in the bond process. They have done so, and I'll let Mr. Cox address that if you want. What's in the bond resolution itself is a provision that, assuming you adopt the bond resolution authorizing the bonds, it authorizes the mayor or his designee to execute the necessary contracts with the professionals involved in the bond issue, including a financial advisory contract with our firm and a professional engagement contract with Mr. Ramondal's firm, Bass Berry. So that is in the bond resolution that's on your agenda.
But we would then move forward and bid the bonds themselves.
That's correct. The bonds are in the detailed bond resolution before you. The bonds are set up to be sold at what we call competitive public sale. So what we will do, we've already prepared a draft of an offering document. That package will go to the rating agency. We'll get a rating on the bonds. We'll get with staff and then we'll set a date and publicize the date that the bonds will be bid out at competitive public sale. That's all done electronically. Your information will be disseminated throughout the United States to any potential bidder that wants to come in and bid on those bonds under the terms and conditions outlined in the bond resolution.
Just a point of clarification then. So what we've done is, we're going with Morgan Keegan, who is going to be our financial, who is, according to the debt policy, we adopted our financial advisor. But also, Morgan Keegan is going to be handling this $31 million worth of bonds, correct? And you're the one that's going to put that over to be bid on. As
the city's financial advisor, it's our job to get quarterly back of the transaction to work with staff to structure the issue